The longest flight in history took 64 days. In 1958, two men piloted a modified Cessna 172 for 64 days, 22 hours, and 18 minutes. Their world record in a propeller-driven airplane still stands today. Here is their story. Bob Tim worked as a slot machine mechanic at the Hacienda Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. He had a suggestion to the hotel owner, Warren Doc Bailey. Tim wanted Bailey to sponsor an airplane endurance flight. He planned to fly a Cessna 172 with the hotel name painted on the side. Bailey agreed and funded the flight. It was intended to be great publicity for the hotel, but Bailey didn't want it to be just a cheap casino promotional trick. He made the flight into a fundraiser for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. People were offered to guess the length of the flight for a fee. There was a chance to win $10,000 if they were correct. Tim began to make modifications for the endurance flight. He had a belly tank added and removed the interior. He replaced the co-pilot door with a platform that would be used during refueling. The airplane even had a small sink installed so the pilots could keep clean. Tim was an experienced pilot and had flown during World War II. It took a year to get all the modifications in place. Test flights took 17 days. Tim wasn't getting along with his co-pilot. That's when John Cook came along. Cook was a commercial pilot and an airplane mechanic. He agreed to co-pilot the airplane with Tim for the endurance flight. They took off from McCarran Field in Las Vegas on December 4, 1958. They were 350 to 400 pounds overweight, but the pilots had notified the Federal Aviation Administration. They got special permission to fly over their maximum allowed takeoff weight. The plane refueled twice a day. A fuel truck raced along. They used a special platform on the airplane that had a winch. This way the fuel line from the truck was brought up to the aircraft. The pilots then refueled the plane. This was also how the men got supplies, such as food and water. This procedure was repeated 128 times during the flight, but the pilots ran into numerous equipment failures. The pure stress of the flight was also making things difficult. The men were getting very little sleep. They had very little physical activity due to the limited space in the airplane. Nevertheless, the pilots went through Christmas and New Year's Day. On January 23, 1959, they broke the existing record set by pilots in Dallas. But Tim and Cook didn't want to stop there. They flew for another 15 days. They finally landed on February 7, 1959, back at McCarran Field. Tim returned to work at the Hacienda Hotel. Cook returned to flying for the airlines. The airplane was put on display at the hotel for around 2 years. Then it was sold to someone in Canada. Tim died in 1978. Before he passed, he asked his sons to find the airplane. Tim's son, Steve, located the plane in Saskatchewan. He returned it to Las Vegas in 1988. In 1992, the plane became an exhibit at the McCarran Aviation Heritage Museum.